Okay, so we have so far went from our raw data, cleaned up data, to a pivot table, and then from a pivot table to a graph. Obviously, if I click on the table itself, I can click on edit the table, and then we have our graph that is built off of this table, and that was simply making and inserting a graph when we were selecting a cell. Now, we are going to take a look at a second way you can make some understanding from this data. And if you look at the data itself, you're going to notice that there's a bit of an outlier here. There's a pretty low score here, and we're not quite sure how many classes have been selected in our range from our form responses, our base data over here. So you can see I can switch back and forth between the tables and our original selection of our original range here. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this range, these 20 cells. And I'm just going to go ahead and this could be a number of cells. This could be 500 cells. But I'm going to go ahead and select the first column, our grouping variable. And I would like to know how many grade 6s actually submitted in this range, because the data may not align, or it may not be congruent with the other classes. So I want to make sure I go back and check that. So I come over here to the form responses and I select the range. Okay, so let's go ahead and class section all the way down to row 21. Now this is obviously apparent, very clear to see using this simple example, but what I want to do is select that range. I come up here to insert and I say insert chart. And it's going to give me this chart, and it gives me a count of the chart. It reads that I'm looking at non-numerical values here, and then it's going to automatically look at a count and give us that sort of visual. Now here we can see that we have basically grade 10 has about 11 responses, grade 9 has about 8 responses, and then we have grade 6 that looks like there's only 1 response. So that data wouldn't really be very valid in our selection, obviously, and we'd have to clean that up in our exploration of the data. But nonetheless, you can see that we have this particular chart appearing, and if we want to start sort of making sense out of the customization of the chart, again, you go to the chart type for the setup, and let's make this a pie chart. And let's do a 3D pie chart. Now we have a 3D pie chart, and it shows us the percentages of submissions. So we have grade 10, 55% make up that data, 40% make grade 9. Grade 9 makes up 40% of the data collected, and grade 6 only 5%. Obviously, that's probably not the best data comparison for grade 6 to grade 9 and 10, but nonetheless, we can just play around with this. So we're going to go over here and we're going to see if I click on aggregate, it totally disappears because it needs to aggregate to make sense of the data. So we're going to make sure the aggregate is on. And then we're going to go over to customize, because while the percentages are nice, we could use some more information within our pie chart. So we can go to customize, and you can select several different types of customizations. And we're just going to go to the pie chart itself, and you can see that we can add a hole. You can do a number of different aesthetics, but you can also add more information in here. And so you want to go down to none, where there's no label appearing in the slice, and we could say a label, and we can see, okay, great, the actual variable goes into there. But we want to actually provide, we have the percentages. Now let's just go ahead and put value. Now we can see the total number of submissions for each of the grouping variables or classes. You can also come in here and take a look at, okay, the black doesn't look all that great on those colors. You can say I want white, and now we have the white as our text color. So you can adjust and customize the different different visuals that are representing our variables and data. Now that looks pretty good there, and then I can go ahead and go up to sort of the chart axis and titles. I can give this another title, so there we go, our title is different, and you can actually click in the chart and class section number of responses, and that gives it a new title. And then you can obviously play around with the different things. You can add a legend if you want. This one's an auto, but let's say we want to put it at the top. Okay, there we have our grouping variables at the top below the title. And it's really up to your preference and how you want your data to appear in the customized section. So we're just going to go ahead and hit auto. That looks good enough. Now you can come in here and you can actually provide a formatting for each of these groupings, as you see here. So this is just some ways you can customize and play around with the data and how it will appear to your audience. Now you can do that same thing. Let's go back over to the pivot table number 1, what we started here. And obviously we have our chart. Let's just click in the chart, click on the 3 dots, and then go ahead and hit edit chart. All right, so we can just go over to the customize feature over here, and you can see that our chart style, okay, we could make it a 3D, okay, so that makes it pop out. Okay, these are all just little features that you can add. Let's go to the chart axes. Okay, we have a huge title to this chart. So here we're asking the question, how do the classes compare with each other? Okay, so we could just go ahead and say, we can add a question and make that our title to, and then how do the classes compare to each other? And you can see how they compare to each other within there. Or you can add a, you can say, this class comparison belonging versus othering. Okay, and then you can see how the data stacks up here. So obviously these are just different ways of formatting. And again, you can come through here and add different error bars or data labels. You can add data to the labels and so forth, and trend lines. Okay, you can see that blue is actually going up on here, and obviously red and yellow. Okay, so you see the trend lines based off of the bar graphs that it's provided. Okay, so those are just things that you can play around with, and you can make more sense, and you can key on very specific parts of data that might be covered in the general, but then you can go further and look at the different specifics and get deeper into our data analysis and comparison. So this pretty much wraps up from collecting the raw data all the way up to visualizing and customizing our charts that represent our data and that helped us understand the meaning of the data through pivot tables, and so forth. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.